All right, everyone. It's Sunday, so let's go ahead and preview tonight's game between the Vikings and the Seahawks. I was able to get this up in time, thankfully. So we're in the middle of a very exciting Sunday. There's 7 games going on right now, about to conclude, and all of them are fantastic. So let's hope that this one is just as fantastic. So, tail of the tape: Vikings versus Seahawks. Vikings have the 22nd offense in the league in terms of yards per game. Defense is 29th in the game, or 29th in the league in terms of yards allowed per game. Overall record 1-3, coming off the win versus the Texans. Seahawks, third overall offense, and that's really no surprise given the fact that Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett are just lighting up stat sheets. Defense, on the other hand, 32nd in the league in terms of yards per game. This secondary is atrocious, and Jamal Adams is not going to be in this game tonight. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The Seahawks are 4-0, given the fact that they have an MVP candidate at quarterback right now who is having a career year, who just absolutely cannot miss. Russell Wilson has the making of an MVP season just after the quarter mark. So we're looking at something spectacular this year in Seattle. Keys to the game down here at the bottom. Number one, my big concern is who stops DK Metcalf. He is a gigantic physical specimen who runs go routes like the best of them. And I don't know if there's somebody that we can put on him other than Cam Dantzler and safety help that are going to be able to put a stop to this. Holton Hill and Chris Boyd are questionable going into this game. I believe the only out we have right now is KJ Osborne with a hamstring, so that really only affects special teams. So with the fact that I think Mike Hughes is, I forget what Mike Hughes' diagnosis is right now, but anyway, it doesn't really matter all that much because I don't know if he would be able to stop this crazy wide receiver they have in Seattle, who I loved coming out of the draft. When they picked him 2 years ago, the fact that he went in the second round is just obnoxious. Everybody had to go crazy over his 3-cone drill. Like, who gives a shit? Moving on to key to the game number 2. Jamal Adams is not going to be playing tonight. He is out. So that takes away the best secondary player for the Seahawks and their best pass rusher. They've been playing him up in the box lately to get to the quarterback because the defensive line can't do it on their own. LJ Collier and the rest of the defensive front haven't been able to produce any kind of pressure on the quarterback, so they've been utilizing Jamal Adams, who's been fantastic at it through the first month of the season. But he's going to be out, so that's actually good news for Kirk Cousins in the passing game because quarterback pressures is something that this offensive line has been struggling with, especially on the right side. Drew Samia has allowed more than his fair share of pass pressures on the quarterback since he's taken over for Pat Elflein. And as a matter of fact, the whole right side of the offensive line has been pretty putrid when it comes to pass protection. The left side has been a little bit better, with Riley Reif being the best, Dakota Dozier having problems of his own. But the fact that he's not going to be in there might mean that Kirk Cousins gets a little bit more time to throw the football other than his, normal generous 1.5 seconds. So that leads in sort of to key number 3 is the Vikings' tempo and offense. Are they going to be aggressive like they were last week against Houston, or are they going to be a little bit more conservative, knowing that they've got an MVP candidate on the other side and Russell Wilson leading a team that can pretty much score at will? And will they utilize Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison more often to sort of milk the clock and try to take away a couple of drives from the Seahawks in this game? Because really, you look at time of possession for the Vikings this year, they haven't been on the good side of that. There's been games, especially against the Colts and the Packers, where they haven't had enough time with the football on offense to really do anything. So I think trying to win time of possession is going to be crucial here today. The other note that I wanted to make was he's not out. He's going to start. He's not on the injury report, but Eric Kendricks missed 2 days worth of practice this week as they did not participate. So that's kind of something just to keep note of. The other thing I did for this preview was I went back in the history books and I took a look at the all-time meetings between Seattle and the Vikings. There's not many of them. Seattle leads the series 12-5 right now, so they have a little bit of an insurmountable lead, as it would be. The Seahawks have won the last 6 meetings between these two teams. The last meeting that occurred was December 2nd, 2019. Minnesota lost 30-37. The last Vikings win over Seattle was November 22nd, 2009. So it's been 11 years since we beat this team, and that was a 35-9 win. And then the last Vikings win over the Seahawks in Seattle, we got to go all the way back to October 22nd, 2006, which is absurd. So that was a 31-13 victory. And of course, the stat that we're going to hear all night, all friggin' night, is going to be Kirk Cousins' record in prime time, which currently sits at 8-15-1. Now he does play better in prime time. I think the last couple of prime times games I can remember, especially that 2018 game against the Rams, was how the defense didn't play up to expectations. And given the fact that there's been so much turnover on this defense this year, and it's very inexperienced in the secondary, and we're going up against two amazing wide receivers in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, with an MVP caliber quarterback in Russell Wilson, it's going to be a shootout. So I think we're going to be relying on the offense to put points on the board. And if they don't, as they did last week against the Texans, we could be in some trouble where we find ourselves playing catch up and then once again not being able to utilize Dalvin Cook to the way that they want. So I think the tempo has to be a mix of aggressive and conservative. Be aggressive early, be conservative a little bit later, and close with an aggressive play. Don't take your foot off the pedal. We'll make it like an aggressive sandwich, if you will. Two aggressives and then a conservative tempo in the middle. So that is the preview for the game against the Vikings and the Seahawks, and I'll see you after it's over, win or lose, with my reaction.